Coming up on Patriots Today, Jerod Mayo. Is he wanting to spend big in free agency this offseason? He also talked about the NFL draft. Does he hint who the Patriots might want to draft, or at least what position? We also have some updates on the offensive coordinator search as well. Busy show coming up on Patriots Today by Chat Sports. But hey, we're also starting a subscriber battle. Marshall Green, Giants now. We're challenging you right now, this exact moment. 0-0. Let's see who gets more subs between now and the end of the month of January. Let's get it popping. If you want daily Patriots videos, we got you covered. Hit that sub button. All right, my name is Harrison Graham. Let's get this thing popping here. Patriots, are they going to be big spenders in free agency? Jerod Mayo certainly basically said that, if we're being completely honest. We'll get to the quote in a second. And we've told you guys for a couple of weeks now that the Patriots do have a lot of cap space. Here's what Mayo, the new head coach, had to say. He said, "We're bringing in talent, 1,000%. We have a lot of cap space and cash. We're ready to burn some cash." And Rolly, this is like the antithesis of Bill Belichick, who never said, gave away anything. I mean, as if he was a government leader not trying to spread government secrets. Jerod Mayo's like, yep, we got money. We're going to spend it. Yep, this is what we want to do in the draft. So I like it. It's refreshing. I mean, what are you hiding? Yeah, we got cap space. We plan to use it. So let's go.
Yeah, I mean, I was telling you a little bit earlier before we started to film. I was just like, I didn't know how to feel about him being so honest about what the Patriots are doing in the direction of the franchise, right? We just have not seen that from Bill Belichick. So it is a little bit of breath of fresh air. It's also something new that we are going to have to take as Patriots fans, is that, well, we actually know what the front office is thinking potentially, rather than Bill Belichick keeping everything a secret for the past 24 seasons. But with that quote from Jerod Mayo, it did pique my interest for a couple of reasons. Because, well, if you remember the last time the Patriots brought the Brinks truck, I know this was Bill Belichick making the decisions.
It's a little spotty.
2021, and these were the top 6 signings they made at that time, where I actually liked a lot of them besides one. I didn't like the Nelson Aguilar signing. He was coming off a career year in Vegas. I didn't really think that he deserved the deal that he got. But I liked Judon. I liked Smith. I liked Henry. I loved Bourne. And I liked the versatility that Jalen Mills brought to the table. But after 4 or 5 years, or I guess 3 years, I think we could officially grade this as a 3 for 6. Judon, smashing success. Hunter Henry has been the best red zone target for New England. He's led the team in receiving touchdowns. Kendrick Bourne, for the value, I thought was terrific over the last 3 years. But Jonnu, Jalen Mills, and Aguilar, clear misses in my opinion.
Yeah, and look, that's kind of part of the free agency game, because the reason guys hit free agency are because the current team doesn't want to pay what they're probably going to get in free agency, a.k.a. you're going to overpay a lot of the time. So you're not always going to hit. You just hope that you find value in certain areas. But the bottom line is, when you have cap space, when you're a team that won 4 games last year, you want to be somewhat, delicate in who you choose to sign. But you need to spend money. You got to get more talent on this roster. And this is a pretty good year to have money in free agency, in my opinion. There are notable players at a lot of positions of need. I don't think they'll go the Kirk Cousins direction, but who knows? Maybe Minnesota decides to reset, and an NFC North that could be pretty damn good next year. They may opt to let him go. Maybe New England gets in the mix there. A lot of good wide receivers there that we've discussed, Rolly. You could get a Jonah Williams on the offensive line. And then this defensive line class, a lot of these guys might get franchise tagged, but maybe 1 or 2 slips through the cracks. Danielle Hunter, another name I'll just verbalize as well. You get one of these guys to add to that defensive front, that would be fascinating, especially if Matt Judon's back as well.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing when you look at the free agency class is who's actually going to squeak through the cracks and be available to be on the market, right? T. Higgins, probably going to be franchise tagged, but then maybe you can trade a second-round pick if T. Higgins says, I'm not planning a tag, I'm going to request a trade. Chris Jones, someone that is probably going to be out there as well. Josh Allen, Brian Burns, likely tag candidates. Calvin Ridley maybe as well. The point of the matter is there's a lot of talented players that can come in and bolster this Patriots roster right away. And we look specifically at the offensive end. They need offensive tackle help, because when you think of what is potentially leaving the Patriots, well, they have some key free agents. And I know that when you're 4-13 and you're like, well, how many free agents are actually worth bringing back? There are some key pieces. You mentioned Hunter Henry, Kyle Duggar, who I think should absolutely be extended. I think Duggar brings a different force in the run game and the passing game for New England. You got the 2 tackles. One of them is 1,000% leaving, in my opinion. Hopefully, if you had to pick one, it is going to be Trent Brown. I'd like to keep Michael Wenu here at right tackle, but who knows what's going to happen there. Kendrick Bourne has voiced his opinion on coming back as well. Uche, could he get a 1-year deal? The point of the matter is there's a lot of good free agents that you have to bring back, as well as go bring out some outside talent. So using the $69 million in cap space slotted right now that is expected to jump up to $83 million, when you cut J.C. Jackson, which I've constantly said, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. You got to use that $83 million wisely in re-signing some key guys, but also bringing in some elite talent from exterior teams.
Yeah, I think you got to identify, okay, what's the value of these guys? Which ones can help us win next year? Okay, and pick from that pool. Obviously, you're going to let some guys go as well. But then, it's all about allocating resources. How much of that $83 million do you want to spend on re-signing guys from a 4-win team? I think there's 3 or 4 guys. Like Uche and Duggar are 2 guys that stand out to me. If Hunter Henry doesn't cost too much, if you have a young quarterback, what's a young quarterback's best friend? A pretty reliable tight end. That's what Hunter Henry is. So I definitely think all of that has to be considered, but certainly bringing in some outside talent is going to be something I would expect New England to do as well. Jerod Mayo said as much. Now, name the players you want New England to sign. External guys, internal guys, doesn't matter. Who do you want to see Jerod Mayo and the Patriots bring back / add to this roster? Drop some names or just a name down in the comment section. And then Jerod Mayo was fairly transparent again. He said, quote, "We are going to take the best player available for the biggest need on the team," talking about the NFL draft. Now, maybe he's playing a little bit of chess. Maybe he's just assuming that the audience hearing that will say, oh, quarterback, and maybe he thinks the biggest need is receiver. I don't know. But I got to think he would like to see this team draft a quarterback. And I will say this. It is refreshing that a defensive-minded head coach understands where the needs are, and that's on offense. Because too often you see these defensive guys take over, and they just want to, win these low-scoring games. And I think Jerod Mayo, Rolly, is a guy that understands, the defense is fine for the most part. Yeah, we got to make a decision on a Kyle Duggar. We could add a player here and there, but we got to score more points, and that starts with that quarterback position.
Yeah, and I just want to make it clear that that quote that we just shared about drafting the best player at the most important position or position of need, he named 3 specific spots that the Patriots need to upgrade on. You see him on screen right now.
Yeah.
Quarterback, wide receiver, and offensive line. And it doesn't take a genius to figure that out, right?
No.
We just outlined the offensive line issues. That was a big problem for Mac Jones, but you imagine the interior is going to be set going in the next season with David Andrews coming back at center. You have the former first-round pick, although he's struggling. You're probably going to take him and bring him in for year 3 and Cole Strange at left guard. And then Sidney Sow actually played pretty good at right guard. So you just got to shore up those offensive tackle spots. But if you bring back Michael Wenu, you only got to replace the left tackle. And I think when you look at the top NFL prospects, I am not the biggest fan of taking Joe Alt at number 3, and I do not see that actually happening. But I imagine that one of these 5 guys that you see on screen right now will ultimately be on the New England Patriots after the first round of the NFL draft. I'm that confident in saying one of these 5 will be that. Now, I guess the only person that could maybe do that is Olu Fashanu, the other stud offensive tackle. But I'm fairly confident one of these 5 guys will be a Patriot come April 27th, is it?
Yeah, 27th, 28th, somewhere in
right.
there. Late April. Yeah, I think all in an Olu's case, they could be trade down options. If you move down from 3 to 7, 8, something like that. That could be the range that you go there. I wouldn't go either tackle at number 3 overall. If you stay at 3, I think it'll be one of those first 4 players. If you trade down, maybe it becomes all Olu. Maybe Daniel slides and you get him in a trade down, something like that. But I do agree. Those are all premium players at positions of need that are expected to go very, very high in this NFL draft where the Patriots are picking. Subscribe to the channel. We have crossed 7,500 subs. We greatly appreciate it. Remember, we have challenged Giants now to a subscriber battle. So let's get that thing rolling. Let's get more subs than them throughout the rest of the month. Rolly and I got you covered with the latest and greatest Patriots coverage on a daily basis here, so hit that subscribe button. All right, let's discuss offensive coordinator. Obviously, we broke down the news of Bill O'Brien leaving for Ohio State late last week, and now the search is starting to ramp up a little bit. Albert Breer had the note of Nick Caley and Zac Robinson, a couple of Rams assistants, set to interview. Obviously, Caley has ties with New England, spent 8 seasons with the Patriots. Zac Robinson, in his brief playing career, was with the Patriots organization back in 2010. Both have obviously worked under Sean McVay now as well. And little tidbit too here, Rolly, it is leaked that Zac Robinson was the runner-up in Chicago. They obviously landed Shane Waldron, who by many was considered the top candidate for OC in this cycle. Robinson was number 2, though, so you got to think he's going to be a hot commodity in this cycle. So if you're New England and want Robinson, you may want to pounce soon.
Yeah, and he's also being requested for an interview by the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this is a name that is very hot right now in the streets, and I think New England is obviously going to interview him, according to that report from Breer. But if they like him, I really do think if they come away with that interview, Mayo sits down, talks to Robinson, and just thinks, wow, I really like that interview, they should pounce immediately. And maybe Zac Robinson doesn't want to come to Foxborough. That is a real possibility, but I imagine since they are looking for a new OC, you look at Bears already got their guy. The Commanders, who knows what they're doing, but they got to find a head coach first. Zac Robinson could be very intrigued with the potentially of being the offensive coordinator with the 3rd overall pick. That's something really enticing. And since the Bears are off the market, you don't know about Washington, they could pounce really, really quickly and scoop up Zac Robinson.
Well, here's why you pounce too, Rolly, because there's a lot of head coach openings still out there. As those teams fill their head coach openings, they're going to be filling out their coordinator spots too. So you don't want even more competition. So if you're the Patriots and you love Zac Robinson, you got to heavily consider hiring him, man, because the Raiders just hired Antonio Pierce. He might be in the mix there. What if the Falcons hire Bill Belichick and he's looking for a new young offensive mind? Maybe Zac Robinson's in the mix there. Like, there's going to be more teams emerging for offensive coordinator spots. So if you are New England, that's something you got to consider. Jerod Mayo also telling the Greg Hill Show here that Nick Caley is interviewing. Elliott Wolf, Matt Groh have helped him in the interview process. Again, that's kind of where the GM front office direction is going to, sounds like.
That's the thing that I wanted to bring up, and the reason why I wanted to show this is that he said that Elliott Wolf and Matt Groh have helped him in the interview process thus far, which I found very interesting because I do think Groh and Wolf have a really high possibility of being the next Patriots general manager. I still think they should look outward, but there's also rumors out there of Elliott Wolf and Matt Groh. Well, if Belichick ends up being the head coach in Atlanta, they could follow suit because they've worked closely together over the last 3 or 4 seasons, and they've done so much work already on this upcoming draft class. Well, Belichick would still want them and want their input for everything they've done over the last 5 months. So I do find it very interesting that Groh and Wolf are helping Mayo, but they could very also well be in Atlanta in just 2 weeks from now. It's a very fluid situation that I really want clarity on GM more than anything right now, if we're going to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, look, you have to straighten that out because this number 3 pick is critical. I mean, are you drafting a quarterback? If you are, who's leading that search? Like, Jerod Mayo is obviously going to have heavy input, and offensive coordinator is obviously going to have input, but don't you need a front office direction? I don't think you want Robert Kraft making the final decision on who the next quarterback's going to be. So if you're going to go internal, pick one of those 2 guys. I don't know how you decide that. That's up to you as a franchise. But I know Elliott Wolf has interviewed for GM positions in the past. I think he's the most qualified for an internal hire, so we'll have to wait and see. But I think clarity at the top of the front office is going to be vital here as things really start to ramp up. All right, we're ramping up here on Patriots Today as well. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Like we said, subscribe. We appreciate it, and we'll see you guys soon here on the channel.